So now we begin to discuss industry analysis. The second video, we're going to focus on how do you understand your industry. If you can't compare across industries, how is it that you can understand an industry to see what things are like? Well, there's a lot of sources. We're going to have the librarian come to speak with us about some of the resources that are available at the library. One of those is IBISWorld. He'll go into IBISWorld. He'll go into detail about that, and some other databases. In addition to these databases, you can do interviews with industry professionals, and those can be really helpful. A few notes about that: if you're going to try to understand an industry, try to come prepared. Have a list of specific questions. Limit the amount of time that they spend you spend with them because they're busy, and then end by asking, what's something that I need to know that I haven't asked yet? So if you're serious about really competing and building a business, you do need to talk to other industry professionals. There's no substitute for that. These databases are not sufficient. So I'll just show a little bit of information of how these databases typically format and structure the data, and then I'll use that to try to help you understand what an industry is. So this is a format from IBISWorld, and you can see that that they use this number called the North American Industry Classification System, or NAICS number. You can see there that there's 5 numbers, 33611. And this is a standard used by federal statistical agencies, and after NAFTA, the name was changed to the North American Industry Classification System so that we can have a common classification system across countries. And so basically what happens is the federal agency comes into specific establishments, business locations, and they describe, okay, what is being done here, and then they add up all of those establishments and find the most common type of activity that's being done, and that's how the organization is classified. So car manufacturers, for example, you can see the top 5 here. You can see some of the trends. This is the type of stuff that happens in IBISWorld. And we use this for economy statistics, but it also helps us to understand what's going on in this industry. Can I actually compete? So depending on the industry, it can be clear. I'm going to use an example here of car and automobile manufacturing. It is defined by the federal agency what's included or what's not included in the industry. So sometimes the numbers can be really helpful, and sometimes they can be really not super helpful because it includes a bunch of other products or services that are unrelated to your own. Some of the other things that IBISWorld gives is some of the market segments, so who these manufacturers sell to. So you can see they sell to car dealers, wholesalers, exports, leasings, and government. And you can see the big players. These are helpful in understanding the value chain. So a value chain, if you're not familiar with it, is where it's kind of like a stream, and you start with inputs or resources, and then you go to the firms that are doing something with that, and then the selling to whoever is buying from them. So these inputs are called suppliers, and those that are buying are called customers. And we're going to use these terms in helping us to understand how to talk about an industry. It's important. A few notes that you might want to be looking for. You should look at the big picture, how big the industry is. That kind of matters. The growth rate probably matters more than anything, the stage of maturity. So those are kind of things that you want to know. So you want to know that Is this an attractive industry? Well, it's growing a lot, or if it's not, you need to acknowledge that. You can also think about, are there other factors in the industry that would be helpful in describing the industry? For example, is it cyclical or counter-cyclical? Cyclical means when the economy goes up, the industry goes up, and vice versa. Counter-cyclical means when the economy goes up, the industry goes down. When the economy goes down, the industry goes up. So, for example, auto service is counter-cyclical. When people have more money, they buy newer cars and they don't go get their car fixed as much. You also might want to understand seasonality. So when do people buy products in this industry? These are important things to know because they will affect your planning and your financials in the business plan. For example, See's Candies, they sell about 60% of their chocolate right before Christmas. Other things to think about, technology change, anything that's happening with regulation or certification, changes in the supply chain or distribution channels. All of these things are important in describing an industry. So we'll end there and start in the next video about a tool to analyze industries.